Okay, so this is a dry brushing demo. I'm going to use some raised textured wallpaper. You will need some paints, obviously, a paint palette, which is this, a paintbrush, and some paper towels. All right. The idea is that you put a really minimal amount of paint on your brush. So just dip it in like this, look, in the ends, and then just remove some of the extra or excess on the sides. Then you're going to make a base layer. You don't want to paint the whole thing so that it's really thick. The idea is that you let some of the bottom layer of white show through, and I'll show you what I mean. Hold your brush upright like this. As I said, make sure that you've got most of the paint off, either on a little spare bit of the palette or on a paper towel. Hold your brush upright, move it round in circles like this, and you will see that some of the paper, the wallpaper, will be covered in paint, and some of the wallpaper will remain white. You want that, that's good. You're not aiming to create really kind of bold, flat, vivid colours. If you put too much acrylic on, what's going to happen is the surface, the kind of difference between the raised surface and the flat surface, it won't be enough. The acrylic paint will fill it. So as I said, just work around the whole sheet like this. I'm not going to do the whole sheet, but you need to cover your piece of paper before you move on to the next stage. So this, as I said, is holding your paintbrush up, okay, moving it around in circles. If you get a little bit too much paint on, don't worry about it. Just get a paper towel and just remove most of the excess. That will help to dry it as well, because you don't want the acrylic paint to be too wet when you're doing the next layer. All right. So as I said, work in circles. You don't need to press too hard. Try not to kind of push the brush really hard into the paper, because you will just damage it. All right. Then what you're going to do, you're going to choose a darker colour, and this is really important. The first layer should be a lighter colour, which is why I've gone for yellow. The second layer needs to be darker. So you can again just use your paper towel. Okay. Just remove most of the colour from that from the first layer like this, round in circles. Okay, yeah, like that. So you can test it. When the brush doesn't have any more colour on it, then you're ready to go. Now, as I said, then using a darker colour, again, just dip it in. You really do not need much, just a little bit like that. And again, remove the excess or the extra on a spare bit of the palette. If you really think you've got way too much paint on, then just get the paper towel and just pull the brush through like that and remove even more. This time, you're going to use the brush on its side. Okay? And the idea is just to catch the tops, like that, the very top. If it's not working, you just need a little bit more paint. So you should be able to see that as I'm working across the page, some of the details are becoming highlighted with that darker colour. I'll try and zoom in a little bit more for you. All right. So that's what you want. You want to end up with basically layers of colour. You want a lighter base layer, and then using the brush on its side like this. The best way is to just kind of do slightly curved motions, and then you don't get so many visible lines, which you want to avoid. So you don't want to see the brush strokes ideally on the wallpaper, and then just carry on doing that until you've highlighted all the top sections, so the main patterns like that. You don't need loads. If you do too much, it can become a little bit dark. If you do too much, so say for example, I'm going to put loads of red on here, and you can see now that that pattern is completely disappeared. I can't see that at all. It's not the end of the world. I mean, try to avoid it, but you can save it. So use your paper towel to just rub that section there. Okay? Try not to rub the wallpaper too hard. Remove the paint from your brush as much as possible. Do not wash your brush because it will be wet and it really needs to be dry. It's very important. Do not wash your brush. You would need to use a lighter colour if you'd gone too heavy with your second layer. So you could use white, okay, and you could just repeat that process. There we go. And you can, as I said, you can save it if it's gone a little bit too far, but ideally just try to avoid putting too much on. Ideally what you're aiming for is something like this area here, where you've got a really nice base layer of yellow, or your lighter colour, whatever you choose, and then you've got your darker colour over the top. And that's it.